Qnity, I'm so excited to have you join us today. And we've gotten acquainted, and the more I know about you, the more I respect you, the more I am amazed by all that you accomplish. You're an entrepreneur, you're an artist, third generation in the professional beauty industry. And when we had some prep time, I took like 6 pages of notes, so I have to distill the questions because we covered so much. But first of all, you know, I've given you the introduction. Actually, you have this introduction that you're nicknamed the Bali Lama. Grew up in the beauty business, the daughter of Jameson Shaw, hairdresser and educator your entire adult life, 35 years experience. You own Jameson Shaw Hairdressers, third generation, 50-year young, 5,000 square foot, 50 chair salon in Atlanta. You still work behind the chair with a bunch of assistants, 35 guests a day. Come on, look at that. And then you have, you've launched a product line called Sunlight's Bellage, and you've been headlined all over the world. So your bio, we could spend a lot of time just reading your bio, but you're also just a great human being that just cares a ton about pro beauty. So anyway, why don't you give your warm welcome to the guests, and I'll ask you my first question.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for having me. I'm very excited about what Qnity is doing for our industry right now, but more importantly, how you have such a great bandwidth that you're pulling people together in a time of need.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being our guest. Now, one of the things that you mentioned early in our conversation was creating a COVID brand. What does that mean, COVID brand?
Well, COVID brand for me just meant that when we all decided to go, obviously, back to work, it was important for me to try to realize how I could make my salon still stand out. And by doing so, we created everything from personalized hand sanitizers to glasses to face shields to masks, all the way down to just the module of how we conducted business. And so for me, if you know about me, I'm about a brand. Hi, I'm there. Look, I even have my yellow glasses for you. But anyway, so for me, it was really more about teaching our staff a new way of doing business and teaching our guests a new way of experiencing us.
So one of the things that you talked about was, as far as a business change that you made, was the whole idea of being cashless. And what that meant as far as where retail happens, where pre-booking happens, and also what happened to your frontline support. Now, listen, we cover a lot of things. We try to bring things back to financial, you know, and you're not necessarily, I didn't hire you because you're a financial, you know, person, but you do some really smart stuff financially. So this whole idea of retail happening at the chair, and then what's happened to your frontline and your needs for frontline. And so talk about that a little bit, please.
Well, about 2 years, 2 years ago, we became cashless, which was really amazing. You know, cash is expensive, as you know. It can be dangerous, you know, trying to get change and things like that. In COVID, it's dirty, you know, and I think a lot of people were concerned about, you know, cash being dirty. But for us, it has been a wonderful move to take our business into that direction. What the upside of that has been is now we're contactless. So everything tends to happen at the chair. For instance, we pre-book appointments for our guests. We put the emphasis back on retailing onto the staff member. Whereas before, let's face it, hairdressers would tend to sort of sell at the chair and then run the products up to the front, sit them on the front desk and run and hope that the receptionist would close the sale. So we've actually put that emphasis back on making it a different client experience. Talking about retail throughout the experience, yes, but more importantly, actually finishing and solidifying that sale at the end, so that when our guests are done, they literally get up from the chair and walk out of our salon. Now, what that's done for us that we really didn't realize was it's helped us streamline the workforce. For instance, my 50-chair salon in Atlanta, obviously we had to take 25 chairs out to to comply with the conditions of the CDC and the state board regulations in my state. But with having to take that down and station shifting and doing all those things, which of course everybody has done, when we put that contactless checkout at the chair and that retailing at the chair, I went from 13 receptionists at the front now to 8. And that has helped me to streamline my business and to trim some fat, I guess, off of you know, the hourly wages that are costing us money to run our businesses now.
So say five full-time equivalents at the front desk?
Well, between part-time and
Yeah.
full-time, I would say maybe 2 to 3 full-time and a couple of part-time. You know, a guest coordinator is, we have a lot of kids that go to school and are in college. I mean, I think everybody has those types of things, but we have 3 types of ways we pay at Jamison Shaw. One is, of course, that hourly employee, in which I'm mentioning. Then there's, of course, the executive team, which is a salaried employee. And then, of course, the commissioned employee, which is the stylist. So for us, it was figuring out a way to streamline that. When your profits are down, we all know that. Most salons now are down between 25 and 30% across the board where I'm talking. And I think you and I talked about that we have new quote unquote line items that we're having to expense now that are costing our businesses more money to run.
So five team members, and we were probably talking about a 6-figure savings here.
Yes.
In
yes.
your particular case. And then on the other side,
our starting salary for a front desk coordinator is between $13, $14 an hour in Atlanta.
So yeah, these other line items on the P&L, the you know, PPE and you know, all of that. I mean, so what you've done is we talked a lot about the new P&L on these calls, and you've got a little bit of a shift here, and I love that. I love how you're right sizing your P&L now. You got your family in the business, don't you?
Yeah.
You not only have well, I'll let you tell about your family.
Well, I mean, I work, many of you may know, I work with my husband, who is my 32 years. We just celebrated our marriage. I actually say it's very comforting to sleep with your counsel every night, because my husband is an attorney. He's also a whiz in finance. So that's been very helpful for my business, but also more importantly, I also work with my son, which is the 3rd generation. He's just had my first grandbaby, which is very exciting. But he is that 31-year-old millennial whippersnapper that sees the light or the business from a different light, which is really wonderful to have that trifecta of opinions, if you will. And so working together, he works mostly on logistics in our education department and things like that as it relates to Sunlight's balayage, but also in the salon, you know, the day-to-day functions. And it gives me more time to stay behind the chair and to act as the creative and the trainer of the people. And I think right now, you know, we are talking about finance, and I loved in the beginning of your slideshow, it talked about, you know, money is wonderful, but, you know, happiness is a lot of what we're going through right now. And I think for me, being able to manage the mental health of my staff has been equally as important as managing the bottom line and the money.
I think that's going to become even more and more important, actually. And you definitely got into that subject of mental health, and I might come back to that one. There's something else that just kind of blew me away when I was talking to you, and you said that you're on a hiring roll.
Yeah.
And you have an influx of applications, and yeah, tell me about that. A lot of people are really struggling with their staffing and recruiting, et cetera. So I'm sure people are all ears on this one.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. When you're a bigger salon, you do get a reputation for having a great training program, for being able to provide things for folks such as 401ks, retirements, insurance, things like that, which a lot of smaller salons sometimes can't provide. But also just having a great reputation of attracting new guests. And in keeping with the hiring, there's been an influx of new guests. We've seen tons and tons and tons of new guests. Either A, their stylist has retired, B, they don't feel safe going back to that location. They don't think they're following the necessary protocols. Or C, you know, I often say, and I said this to you the other day, you know, many folks don't think they need leadership until they do. And I think that what happens is when you're in a pivotal point in your business and things are starting to pivot and you're not as nimble as you think, you know, you kind of go to where there's some strength and some root or some, you know, gravity in a business. And for us, we've seen a lot of folks wanting to shift out of various environments and get back into a team-based environment.
So you have two influx of new clients and staff. Mm-hmm. And as it relates to recruitment, do you have any like specific tactical type things that might be duplicatable for most people, you know, regardless of the size of their business?
Well, I think showing up at beauty schools is very important. I think a lot of salon owners have a tendency to call beauty schools and say, hey, send me your top people. Well, that's not really going to work. You have to get a reputation for being a part of your society and your community. I think that's one thing that I would say, no matter how small you are, you know, go out and share your knowledge. There's all little nuggets that each business owner has that they can share with others. And I think also going across your state lines. You know, that's been something that has been, you know, helpful to not only just recruit in your own city or state or county, but also in other states, cities, and counties. I, of course, have a leg up, I know, simply because I'm an educator and I'm on the road all the time and I'm in the classroom. So that reputation is out there of me being a teacher. I think it's folks that come in to apply for jobs for us. It's not just because I'm Candy Shaw, the Dalai Lama, that they're coming. I think they're coming because they want to buy in to a culture that's tried and true and that, more importantly, gives them the ability to have greater things, both financially and personally in their lives.
You shared some of the numbers for members of your team, and they're just blow me away, some of your top producers. I want to come back to that in a moment. Back to the schools. During the pandemic, have you still stayed in touch with the schools, maybe virtually or?
Yes. You know, mostly locally, you know, how I can help or things of that nature. As a matter of fact, when we were first thinking about ramping up and we were thinking that we were even going to have to distance ourselves even more, I was reaching out to some of the schools, you know, thinking about having some type of internship program where people could almost press pause in school just to give us extra hands on deck to be able to accommodate the you know, 3,000 or 4,000 appointments that we, you know, had backlogged. You know, so I was looking at ways to sort of again, pivot my business to try to find ways to maybe intern. I actually called my buddy Wynn Claybaugh and, you know, talked to him about potentially working some type of internship. You know, it never came to fruition because we never needed it, but absolutely staying in touch is very important.
You also mentioned some things that you're doing with your staff that was sort of catering a bit to independence and some new things as it relates to time off, you know, morning text messages. And I thought those were super unique. Do you want to cover those?
Yeah, it's really funny. I was talking to my buddy, Frank Gambuza, the other day, and I was telling him, you know, right now, our density rates, we have to keep those down. You know, people waiting in the car. There's no guests coming into our salons. I mean, our salon used to be just full of people. And so now with that being said, I don't really want our staff just standing around, you know, and what I told you was, you know, if Sally had a schedule of 10 to 7, normally, Sally would come in at 9:45, get herself set up, and put her rod in the water and try to fish for anything that would call in for that day. But when we went down to no walk-ins because of all of the protocols that we had to go through, I realized that having people just come and sit and wait was not a good thing. So what we did is we began a process where every morning we look at everyone's book and we would text them what time to come in. Now, granted, our top producers are always busy, so it really didn't put any added extra work on us. But some of those people that are kind of in the middle or the bottom, what it did was it created time off, and it almost created a sense of being an independent contractor. And what I found in that residual effect of that was the attitudes all changed. You know, I said to you the other day, there's two things you can give your staff. One is time off, obviously, they all want that. And the other is help when they need it. And what I meant by that is if they wanted to upsell a highlight or upsell a color, being able to give them someone to help them shampoo out or do a blow dry or start something. So we've been trying this out, and it's really actually working well. And what it's doing is it's really putting a greater dog in the fight now, because if you get texted three or four out of 5 days a week that you could come in late, you start worrying a bit about your business, and you get out there on social media and do what you need to be doing to try to build a greater client base.
You also talked to me about digital comp cards, which I thought I knew what it meant, and I was on the right track. But let me have you explain what you mean by digital comp cards and how that plays into everything right now.
Well, I said to you the other day that I would color everybody's hair in the city of Atlanta for free if I could only have the regrowth. You know, marketing is very different now. You know, marketing is about touch, feel, experience in the salon industry. And so we just came up with an idea that we would start really giving out these referral programs. And everyone's had referral programs, you know, send 3, get 1 free, but they're very difficult to police. You know, we all have a good intention, but the reality is who's going to police that? So we started a program called Digital Comp Cards, where we allow the stylist, and when their business might feel a little flat, to text and or email a complimentary haircut to come in for a friend to come into the salon. And what it's done is, with the influx of these social platforms, you know, people are posting it in their forums, they're posting it in places that you might not even had a reach to. And it's been a wonderful way. We don't obviously do those services on Saturdays, it's just Monday through Friday, but it's been a wonderful way to keep people busy. You know, when your calling card is on the street and someone's hair looks great, that's your calling card. And I would rather do something for nothing than nothing, right? So that's just kind of the attitude that we have, is that, you know, we're always fishing, because you just never know that moment when you're going to get that guest who's going to be the new voice for your chair.
So your surge of new guests, you said every week post-COVID, you know, you shared some numbers with me, and I mean, it's a lot. You're getting a lot of new guests now. And a lot of that sounds like it's from your reputation and the stand that you took. It seems to me you were on CNN or something like that. Weren't you interviewed? Yeah. And you took a pretty yeah. So the influx of new guests, what do you attribute that to? I mean, part of it might be the digital comp cards, but probably more importantly, maybe reputation.
It's definitely not. The new guests that I'm counting are not from the digital comp card. It's really more from just, I think, a couple of things. Number one, when you think about the workforce is working from home now. So scheduling has changed. You know, it's not like your late night business is the most important business anymore. It's not like your Saturday business is the most important business anymore. Why? Because people can come in during the week. Many folks, their student is home. She's not going back to college. So now they're sending their friends, and so on and so on. So I think we just had an influx for a lot of varying reasons. One, we're pushing really hard to have a voice in our town. Two, we're known for great sanitation and following all those protocols. I mean, I hear horrible rumors about salons in my city with people, you know, with their mask off and people really not following. Three, I think that more people are at home now. They're giving they need some love time. And then, of course, just simply availability. And I think when you have a salon that you ride on the tipping point of availability, I think that's very important. I had mentioned to you the other day that if a stylist tells me that they're booked for the next 8 months solid, I honestly say to them, I'm very sorry, because you're really not running your business correctly. If you're booked out that far, you have no room to be nimble. You have no room to pivot. You have no room to go up on your prices and add more value to your bottom line. So for us, I think it's very important that you sometimes prune from the top and grow from the bottom, and that your business is a constant resurgence. I'm behind the chair 40 years. I've been hairdressing since I was in high school. And I wouldn't want to be just doing old ladies for the rest of my life. I want to do young. I want to do your daughter. I want to do your granddaughter. You know, I want to do those people as well. So part of that is how you edge up your finance and how you can edge up your pricing. I know that a lot of folks will come to me and say, oh, I haven't gone up on my price in 3 years. And I go, what? You know, are you kidding? So those are varying ways that I think also circle back to having that availability in your business and being able to see more guests as well at a higher price point.
Yeah, I love this. So let's hear from some of you folks out there. Use the chat screen. I'll jump in the chat a little bit here. I just want to stay completely present with Candy here. But if you're loving this as much as I am, go ahead, put it in the chat, and any comments or anything, would love to hear from you. Candy, the next area I want to go with you is I recall having a conversation with some of our educators that are salon owners, and one was frustrated because he's like, you know, we just had all this time off. People are coming back to work, and it's like, I want to schedule my vacation. It's like, you did something that I think was really smart with your team at the very beginning as it related to paid time off. I'd love it if you would share that.
Well, when we all started to go for PPP and the EIDL and the small business loans, first and foremost, I think every single one of us was running our business, not only day by day, but literally hour by hour, because it was changing that rapidly. And I just, you know, made an executive decision early on that I was going to be willing to pay for the time that my folks were out, all of their insurance. And I was giving them a 40% kickback on all online sales on retailing, because we were trying not to color hair in the kitchen or send out color kits. We were trying to show our roots and have a campaign with that. So I spoke to my staff about that, and I was trying to just keep them alive and thriving. And I was also filing each and every one of theirs unemployment. Ourselves, we filed for them on behalf of them. And so all the work, I worked harder during COVID than I've ever worked in my life, by the way. I was not sitting by the pool enjoying a cocktail at 3. And so I just had that ride or die speech. And that was when I knew I was going to have to sign off on these loans for the PPP money. A huge 6-figure sum to cover my payroll. I just said, hey, you know, here it is. You know, I'm willing to take all these things on behalf of myself and take the risk. But what we all have to know is when we get back up and running, you can take your vacation. You can go where you want to go, but I'm not going to be able to pay vacation pay on top of all of this. And that was just a moment that I just, you know, had that heart to heart and just said, you know, I can't do both. You can't double down. You know, we're out of work. We have no idea how long we're going to be out of work. And, you know, for the rest of 2020, you know, this is what we've been dealt, and this is the card I'm going to have to play.
Have you lost many team members during the pandemic?
Actually, no. We lost one, and we have one that has not come back yet because they have some health concerns. We relocated a couple in the very beginning, and those were typically just hourly staff. And actually, we pressed pause on 2 hires in the very beginning that we were getting ready to initiate, and pressed pause on them. And then once we went back up, we actually went ahead and hired them. So to answer your question, no. But I think what we did was really unique. And Georgia was the first state to reopen. April 24th was the date that we were given. We were given 4 days notice in order to be prepared for that. And although we were prepared with the proper PPE, finances, and everything in between, we elected to wait until May 11th and work on branding, the COVID brand, getting the training in, and really making our staff feel emotionally ready to take that plunge. So we put that on them. If they weren't ready, some waited, some deferred, but really we only lost one. That was, due to just other reasons. So I feel really good about that, and I feel that a lot of that was just coaching along the way and really being very communicative to our folks constantly. And so we've tried to keep those open lines of communication going forward as well.
We were on a call yesterday with a bunch of our educators, and next week we have a second call that relates more with not so much financial roundtable, but other parts of the business. And we're doing a theme next week around human capital and recruitment and retention. And we're just getting a lot of feedback from people in the field, your peers that are really struggling with staff right now. And for example, Candace Galeotti out in California, they had 2 shutdowns, shut down, open, and then shut down. The second shutdown has really resulted in people leaving. The first one didn't. So a lot are discouraged out there. And part of what we want to do on these calls is provide hope, but also give them something to do, give them action. So what would you say to those that aren't as fortunate as Candy Shaw, that are really losing staff and that hits your head, your heart, your pocketbook, and all of that, and also creates a little anger and what have you. So it's a roller coaster. So if you've got any little points of wisdom for many of you out there that are listening in that have lost, not 1 or 2 people, but a significant part of your team, what do you think, Candy?
Oh, listen, I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had over this. I mean, I have the tears and the phone calls from my friends from the West Coast all the way across. I mean, Georgia drew what has now proven to be a great straw. In the moment it wasn't, because we got back to work quicker. And I do realize that some of my friends have not had that type of luck. And I said it before, this is going to drive hairdressing underground. If we do not get these salons back up and running and doing something with this economy, it's going to drive all these stylists underground. And that's exactly what it's done. I mean, people are doing hair everywhere now. I mean, no one even cares. So my nut of advice was, first, I would give you a kiss. And I would say, you got to up your Zoom game, Tom. But no, I would give them a kiss and I would say, listen, you just got to believe in what you are about and know that this thing will hopefully ride out the storm and you will see a rainbow in the end. And I know that there's not one advice that I could give, like go out and do this, go to your high school, go to your beauty school. I think what you just have to do is just keep telling your guests how important they are and keep running your business at the top level of integrity and respect, and hope that this too shall pass. I mean, that's really unfortunate, and it's not really even great advice. It's the reality. And I would just say, try to love yourself and don't be so hard on yourself. This is not an attack on you by any stretch of the imagination.
We have a couple questions here. One is the PTO, paid time off, cut off permanent? I think I know the answer to that, but okay.
No. Well, I think, honestly, I think that everything is when the mask comes off. I mean, I really feel like that is going to be the reveal of business going back to a life as we used to know it. So as soon as we can put back in 25 chairs that we've taken out, and as soon as we can quit station shifting and having to go through all the varying things that we're doing, as soon as we can take away the line item for sanitation and cleaning and all the things that the PPE has cost us, As soon as we can do all of those things, then I think that we will cruise back over and get back into our lane and hope bring back still have help. They still have a lot of other wonderful things. They still could take the time, you know, as it relates to the time off. But as soon as those things come back, I'm hoping to reinstill all of those.
So you didn't give them an end date. Right now it's open-ended. Okay. Another question is, thanks for that question, Sophia. Kate from ILOF, hello Kate, you mentioned that managing mental health of your staff. What does that look like is the question.
It's actually gotten so much better. I think we're really getting so used to being in our new, again, we set up a model as to how to work, how to wear the mask, what my expectations were. I called every single one of my staff members about every 10 days that we were out on quarantine, or texted. I was always in touch with them via Facebook Live or Zoom or any of those kinds of resources. You know, I think that the 1 Minute Manager is a book that I live by, and that is, I manage the moment. You know, every time I feel that somebody's emotional bank account is withdrawn, that is when I'm heading out. I mean, you have a sixth sense, and that sense is when that staff member, you can feel it. You gotta address it immediately. And so, because I work behind the chair and because I'm in my salon almost every single day, it makes it very easy for me to manage mental health, because, you know, they're all like plates, you know, they're on top of a dowel and you're spinning them, right? And when that plate begins to sort of wobble, you got to go back over there and sort of spin those plates. And so I work really hard every day at spinning the plates, especially if somebody I feel is falling.
You also mentioned something to me about a 40% retail bonus to help pay rent and et cetera. So I think people will be interested in hearing about that too.
We just did that during our closure. We asked all of our staff members to really work hard on social media to get that guest not to go to Amazon to order her shampoo and conditioner, but to actually stay with us, you know, stay true to us, stay loyal to us. And so what we did was, instead of paying their typical retail commission, I just took 40% of the profits right off the top. I'm fortunate because I'm a manufacturer that I have a warehouse full of boxes and tape guns and things like that. So we really wanted to up our game and our online presence as it relates to product sales. And actually what we found, to be honest, is the reoccurring effect of that is more and more people are now used to going online and ordering. So that only lasted through the closure.
Okay, gotcha. Well, geez, I love this share, and a lot of wisdom here, a lot of head and a lot of heart coming through with you too. And you know, I'm going to do a roundtable in a sense and see who's on the call with us, and I've got a couple other things. But before we do that, let me officially award to you the $1 million idea bulb. I'm going to pass this through the screen to you, and there you go. Right.
I love it. Wait, let me get my mustache on for
it. There you go. All right. So please accept our $1 million light bulb idea of the week. Thanks for joining us. Now, for the rest of you out there, let's give her a virtual applause and a little bit of a shout out. Really amazing, Candy. Thank you so much.